I thought after class today, a couple of you were saying, "Hey, what is there a video on what we did in class?" Or I kind of got lost. What do I do? So I wanted to kind of make a little video. By the way, this is how this class is going to work. If somebody's confused about something, let me know and we'll try to do something about it. So basically, we talked about setting up your AWS server in the Canvas module. Hopefully all of you have done that and that you have followed through on the GitHub repository of all these steps, okay? By the way, make a note of this, because if you screw up your AWS account, or like it seems like Caddy's not working or something, I suggest just create a new one and go through these steps again. It will only take you a few minutes, and that's sometimes easier than figuring out what's wrong or what you've done that's different than what that brings expected results. So again, at some point you should see in your environments all of the Cloud9 instances you've created. If you want to delete one, like make sure you've saved everything off of there, but you can just go up and click on the delete button and get rid of it, and then create a new one. So one problem that people seem to be having is when they create their environment and they get to this step and they're not changing this to never, okay? So if you don't change that to never, then it's going to basically create a new one for you every 30 minutes, and that will, possibly you're going to have a different IP address, a different URL address for it every time you come back. So make sure you change that to never before you create it. Also, some people had different regions. I'm going to suggest you either choose Northern California or Oregon for your regions up here before you create one of these, and it's actually going to be created on a data center in that region. Okay, so those seem to be the most common problems people have had. So let's assume you've got your Cloud9 thing working. You should be able to see something like this, where you have you can go ahead and see all of your files here on the left side. You have a file browser. Hopefully you have a public HTML directory, and when you actually set things up, you did this command to, in essence, sudo means I want to do this as super user, and ln, I want to create a link, which is basically I want to create two names in the file system that go to the same place. -s is I want to create a symbolic link between the existing directory /user/share/caddy and my public HTML directory. So that should create this link up here in public HTML. You notice it's got a little different look to it because it is a symbolic link. And now if I were to go to my environment directory, you can do pwd to see where you are. You all have this Ubuntu username on your own server, and you can do an ls-l, ls gives you the listing of your directory, and it will show you that your public HTML directory points to /user/share/caddy. So anything you put in here will actually be in this /user/share/caddy directory, and the web server will display it if you ask for it from there. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to now edit my index.html file here and start out with just hello world. And you'll notice that if I wanted to, I could say preview that file index.html, and it would create a pane with that in it. I could then say split the pane into 2 columns. So now I can see what I'm displaying as I'm editing stuff here. And again, I can put in a H2 tag that says goodbye. Save it out. Most people have trouble remembering to save it out. And then when I refresh this, then I go ahead and see the new changes. So again, as a development environment, I'm going to develop here. I'm going to save it out. Down in my terminal window, that may not need to be terribly big, but I'm going to be running commands. Okay? And learning how to do command line stuff is really important, but it's something we've taught you just enough to get things working, and as the semester goes on, we'll teach you more. Okay, so anyway, here we are with Hello World. The assignment this week has you, in addition to setting up your AWS server, we're hoping that you will learn some stuff about HTML and CSS. And so the this first activity, learning HTML, you should be kind of jumping into now. And this book is really good. It's kind of fun. It's going to talk about how to learn HTML and CSS. You can go ahead and jump in here, take a look at some basic web pages. This HTML is actually a markup language. It's going to talk to you about the structure of a HTML page. And so this is hopefully going to be really good information for you to start doing things, okay? So if we want to follow some of these things, I think this assignment asks you to use a bunch of these tags. So if we wanted to, let's jump in here and throw in some tags. Normally what I would do is I would put in a head tag, and we'll talk later about exactly what goes in there, but you would probably put in JavaScript libraries that you're using or CSS up in the head tag. And then normally you're going to put in a body tag, which is the main body of your page. You're going to actually be able to access these tags from JavaScript when you get to that part of the class, and you will be able to modify those. So anyway, here we go. We've got a couple of tags inside of the body. Again, now that I've got all these tags in here, I can save that out, and we shouldn't really see any differences. We might want to create some other elements in here. So let's create an ordered list of items. And then inside of there, let's put one of them is, maybe this is a list of things I'm going to do. I rode my bike to work, so I'm going to ride my bike home. And the next thing I want to do is maybe eat dinner. And when I save that out, then, and refresh this pane, I go ahead and see my ordered list. If I wanted to change that from an ordered list to an unordered list, I could do that. And that should then render, after I save it out, as a unordered list with the bullets. If I want to, instead of viewing this in the preview pane, I can also display this out inside of another browser tab. Notice here that you're seeing the public HTML, the path here, /index.html in there. It's displaying the same content. I might also want to go back here. Let's see, I was in the midst of creating a new environment, which I really don't want to do, but I could also go up here and look at the services, and all of these services are part of your AWS account. Everything from augmented reality and virtual reality to different kinds of Docker containers to game development, quantum technologies, all kind of stuff The page that's important right now is that you are able to look up and find your EC2 node. You can think of this as a computer, like your laptop, that's actually running your code on it. It's probably in a big rack, but I can go ahead and take a look at this. Here's my particular instance. I can see the details. Here, we talked last time about IP addresses and TCP. We mentioned that inside of here, we're going to have different TCP ports that are enabled for different services. In this case, 443 is used for SSH, so the HTTPS, sorry, not SSH, but HTTPS connections. Port 80 is for HTTP, and you'll notice that some of these others, here's the SSH port, 22, and so hopefully you're kind of getting a feeling for how some of these concepts that we've talked about in theory actually apply on your machine. But I've also opened up port 3000 to 3010 and 8080 that we'll be using later on in the class. So let's go ahead and go back to our details of my thing. I can also open this DNS address, which will bring me another pane that you'll notice is showing the same thing. Okay? And so this is my real web server's address. Notice that we are using HTTPS. We had you set that up with Caddy so that it's a secure layer so your browser doesn't give you complaints. I can also go to my inspect pane here, and I can see everything that's going on. If I go to the network tab, I can do a refresh. You can see the things that are actually loaded from different people, different websites doing that, and we're going to use this a ton throughout the semester. But it will also show you this document. Here's the body, and you can go ahead and look at the unordered list and other things that might be in there. Okay, so anyway, I wanted you to become familiar with how things work here. So let's talk about other things that you're asked to do. You're also asked to create links to images and other documents. And I think you're supposed to have 3 pages of your website. People are a little confused about what that means. So let's go ahead, and here I am. I've got index.html. I've got an li tag here. Maybe what I also want to do is put in an anchor tag. My favorite place to learn about this is at W3 Schools. And if you go here, it's going to have all kinds of great information, references about HTML tags. And one of the things that we could find is here's an anchor tag. So it's going to have a open tag, href equals, and then the name of the file I want to connect to, close tag, then here's the string that's going to be displayed and colored blue. So I can go ahead and go into this file and say, let's create an anchor tag. Href equals, and let's put in a file. Let's see, let's call the file junk.html. Okay? So, and we're going to say you want to click on this is junk. And now when I save that out and refresh my page here, there's my this is junk thing. When I click on it, it's going to say files not found because I haven't created it yet. So let's go in here and create it. You can go to public HTML and create a new file called junk.html. And I'm going to want to put some of the same stuff in there, so I'm going to copy it and go in here, junk.html, paste it in there, and all I want to put in here is maybe this is junk. Okay? And when I save that out, so this is junk.html, I go ahead and do my refresh, and now when I click on this is junk, it goes ahead and shows me this. Somebody asked about, well, how do directories work inside here? So maybe what I'm going to do is create another directory, a new folder, and call it junk. And inside of here, I might create another file called junkie.html. And inside of there, I can create, I like that over here, better. I can paste in this other stuff I had from before and say, this is junkie. Okay, I'm going to get rid of everything else. And now I save this out. And inside of my junk.html, I'm going to put my tab is going to be, I want to reference another file under junk/junkie.html. And so that is going to go to this folder, junk, and get the file junkie.html. So if I save like 90% of this out and do a refresh, here I go back to my initial index.html. He's got an anchor to junk.html. So when I click on this, I'm going to go to junk.html. And when I click on this link, then I go to my junkie file. Let's look at how this actually appears at our web page. So if we go to here's my web server. Here's the URL for my web server. Let's see, is this the right one? Okay. This is the URL to my web server that we found inside of this EC2 panel. And if I refresh this, here's my file. Notice there's nothing here in the URL bar because by default the web server will serve the file index.html if you don't tell it what to serve. Okay? I can click on junk and that takes me to this file junk.html. Again, it's inside my public HTML directory or folder, and that corresponds to the root of this web server. And we configured that inside of Caddy. Your public HTML directory actually points to Caddy's root directory. Okay, now when I click on the next link, this is that one that went to the subfolder junk and the file junkie.html. And so voila, you can see it in the URL. We're actually just following the same directory structure that we're finding here. Here's our root, junk, then junkie.html. But that's a pretty uncreative set of file names, but there you go. So hopefully that's most of the stuff that we talked about in class. I would encourage you to play around with some other tags. For example, you might want to take a look at figuring out how to put in images. And it's pretty easy. The thing I like about W3 Schools is you can always try it yourself and throw in other junk like 260. And then I can go ahead and see that reflected, and you can play around with these, the width and height, and have all kinds of fun understanding how these tags work. So anyway, I've now done it. I've made too long of a video. Appreciate you guys paying attention to this, but hopefully that gets you, if you missed part of class today, this will actually help you. So thank you, and we'll